friends. My name is subhajitbanik and I'm a lawyer. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Lawyer's Law for Students. You know me by now. Many of you have subscribed. I like the attention you have given and your support really matters. Basically, the purpose of this YouTube channel is to help the students who will take the law exams, whether it's AIBE or law exams or the judicial exams, that when you're there in the examination hall, you can recall the answers in a jiffy, meaning thereby you recall the zone and exact location from where the question is put. It will be very helpful to you, right? So do like, share and subscribe. It's for the students and I take little time because in lockdown nothing to do, so that you all benefit out of it. Okay. Today we start with Part 18 of the Constitution of India. The Part 18 of the Constitution of India is emergency provisions. Broadly, emergency provisions, three types. First, with all war, external aggression, armed rebellion. The second one is failure of constitutional machinery. And the third one, the financial emergency. And the effects of emergency and how the fundamental rights are affected. That's the basic crux of this emergency. But how to recall? The key is to recall. It's sort of a descriptive lecture. Okay. So emergency in Part 18, understand only the President has the power, right, to declare by proclamation that there's an emergency. So if the President has the power, the President we know is 52, discussed in the earlier videos, you just follow up that. So when the President is at Article 52, understand emergency is at Article 352. Emergency provisions at Article 352. This much we know for a start, that emergency provisions at Article 352. So what is there in Article 352? Article 352 is all about fighting. Simple. Remember the word war, W-A-R, war, and bring in the E from emergency to the word war and adjust, and it becomes W-E-A-R, where. W-E-A-R, where. Remember this word. It starts with war, bring the E, it's where. Now I see. Article 352 of the Constitution of India says, in simpler words, if the President is satisfied that a grave emergency exists to the security of India, it must be that grave, to the security of India or any part of the territory due to war, W, external aggression, E, and armed rebellion, AR, where that's war, armed rebellion, external aggression and armed rebellion, then he may declare it by a proclamation. 352 concept is clear. It's all with fighting, war, and bring the E. It becomes where. So if the President is satisfied that a grave emergency exists there's a grave emergency to the security of India or a part thereof, then on counts of war, external aggression or armed rebellion, then he may by a proclamation make a declaration to that effect. But he may also revoke it, vary it, that part is also there. And such proclamation is not issued till the Union Cabinet writes in writing affirms so to the President of India. These are the three fundamental concepts of Article 352. Following up, Article 353, what are the effects of emergency? Such proclamation of emergency is made. What are the effects? The first one, the executive power of the Union, the judiciary remains stable. Understand that. The judicial part remains stable. The executive and the legislature part would change. How? The executive power of the Union extends to telling the states in what manner the executive power of the state is to be exercised. Clear? The executive power and the legislative powers, they change, but the judicial power, they remain the same. So the executive power of the Union extends to giving directions or telling the state as to how their executive power has to be exercised. That's the first one. Okay. And see, laws are made by Parliament or state legislature, whatever, but depends on where the subject is. It's not in this chapter. Schedule 7 to the Constitution of India has 3 lists. Out of those lists, I'll talk about that detail when I deal with that part. Out of those 3 lists, list 1, that's the Union list, the entries which are there, the subjects rather, on those subjects only the Parliament can legislate or make the laws. Now here what happens is that at times of emergency, the Parliament can also legislate on certain entries or subjects which are not there in the union list. All right. So the power of the executive and the union changes. That's 353. How it changes? The executive power of the union is extended to giving directions to the executive, to the states as to how their executive power is to be exercised, and the parliament can also legislate on entries which are not there in the union list. In what manner and all, we'll leave it for a moment. 353 is gone. Now 356. 356 is failure of constitutional machinery. How it happens? It's a big word. No? Failure of constitutional machinery. Simple. If the governor of a state reports so to the president, or otherwise the president is satisfied that there is a failure of constitutional machinery in a state, then now again the changes in the executive and the legislative, but a different way. Then if the president comes to know satisfied from the report of a governor of a state, or comes to know otherwise that there has been a failure of constitutional machinery in a state, then here the president assumes the functions, all the powers and functions of the government, and also of the governor, any or all of the governor, right? And the parliament would legislate on subjects which are there under the state legislature, all right, on which the laws are made by the state legislature. So complete changes are coming in. When there's a failure of constitutional machinery, it's not war or external aggression or armed rebellion. Now there's a failure of constitutional machinery, all right? When there is a failure of constitutional machinery, the entire thing is taken over, the entire of executive, all right? The president takes over all the powers and functions of the government, of the state, and also of the governor, any or all powers, and the parliament takes over the power to legislate on matters which are usually the state legislature would legislate. These are two effects. Clear? Mainly what happens. Now we have to understand the effect of proclamation of the emergency on the Part 3 of the Constitution of India. So on Part 3 of the Constitution of India, the effects are there in Article 358 and 359. Right? Article 358 and 359. What are the effects? The effects are, at 358, the freedoms granted under Article 19 of the Constitution. Right? The freedoms granted under Article 19 of the Constitution stay suspended. We don't have an absolute right. Right? These are called reasonable restrictions which come in due to emergency. The freedoms granted in Article 19 of the Constitution of India says suspended. That's Article 358. All right. Now, 359. 359 says, if the President passes an order and indicates that such of the fundamental rights as indicated in the order shall remain suspended, then you cannot go to the court to litigate. Number one. And if the proceedings are pending, they also remain suspended in respect of those fundamental rights which are there mentioned in the order. Correct? Except Articles 20 and 21. Those are not within the purview. So Article 359 says, during emergency, if there is an order by the President which indicates some of the fundamental rights as indicated in Part 3 of the Constitution, on those rights, neither you can go to the court or neither the pending proceedings are also suspended. So everything is suspended there. Clear? Right. And lastly, we have the financial emergency. See, financial emergency is also again a subjective thing of the President. I'll just check up the correct words for you so that it's easy for you. It says, and if I may just indicate to you, that financial stability or the credit of India, if the President is satisfied that is a situation when the financial stability or the credit of India or any part of the territory is threatened, he may again by a proclamation make a declaration. So financial emergency is that if the financial stability, the entire economics of it, the financial stability or the credit of India is threatened. Financial stability or the credit of India. See, it's basically financial emergency. So the word F is there. So financial stability or the credit of India is threatened. Then the President can again declare it by a proclamation of the financial emergency. And the financial emergency is 360. It's a full circle. F financial, F full circle, 360 degrees, So Article 360. In a jiffy random, you have to understand the failure of constitutional machinery is at 356. How do you remember? Failure of constitutional machinery, there are 365 days in a year, 56. The 65 you change to 56, 356. Clear? There are 365 days in a year, failure of constitutional machinery, 65 you change to 56, 356. What about financial emergency? Okay. Full circle, F for full, F for financial, circle 360 degrees, Article 360. As for proclamation of emergency due to war, that's WEAR, war, external aggression or armed rebellion, power of the President, 52, 352. Clear? Okay. Once again, war, external aggression or armed rebellion, of these three, if the President is satisfied that there is a grave emergency for which the security of India or any part thereof is threatened, then he may declare so by a proclamation. 352. Such a proclamation can be varied or recalled. And 3. Until the Union Cabinet in writing conveys to the President that such a proclamation may be issued, the President would not issue. 3 basic things of Article 352. 353 says the effects of emergency, you know. This is the basic, only the executive and the legislature, not judiciary. Executive power of the union extends to giving directions to the executive power of the state as to how it's to be utilized and exercised. And number 2, the Parliament can legislate on subjects, on issues, on entries which are not there in the union list in times of emergency. Right. Now, there are 365 days in a year. Now, 65 we turn to 356. Okay, and 356 we know the failure of constitutional machinery. So whenever there is a failure of constitutional machinery which the President comes to know from the report of the governor or otherwise, then what happens? Complete takeover. Now the President takes over the rights of the executive of the government and also the powers of the governor, either some or all. That's clear. And there may be an order by which the Parliament may legislate on issues or subjects or entries which the state legislature should legislate. These are only 2 things. In 352, when there is an emergency, the effect is at 353. It says it directs the state how to exercise the executive power of the state. Here in 356, the President takes over complete charge of the governor, the powers of the governor and the powers of the government. The second was that the Parliament in 353, the Parliament would legislate on certain issues which are not there in the union list. Here, nothing doing. The Parliament legislates on the subjects which the state legislature would legislate. Complete takeover. Clear? Now, the restrictions on freedom, 358 and 359. Okay? 358 says the freedoms in Article 19 shall remain suspended during emergency. That's okay. 359 says, by an order issued by the President, those fundamental rights indicated in that order, on those rights remain suspended. You cannot go to the court for those rights, and if proceedings are pending, they also remain suspended. Again, these all can be varied and recalled. There's no problem with that. And lastly is the financial emergency, full circle, 360. Very good. So when the President is satisfied that the financial stability or the credit of India is threatened, he may again issue a proclamation to that effect. So, sum and substance emergency provisions I have discussed with how to recall the articles. Hope this is useful to you. Like, share and subscribe once again. And please stay indoors, stay safe, because this is the lockdown period. We have to do something constructive. And if we all join, we can all help ourselves and save lives. Take care.